Hello, hello, and welcome back. I'm Jen Buzza here with you for much of today, which is very fortunate for me. Hope you are enjoying everything that's come your way. We are so happy to be here with you all. And we've got a special guest coming up in just 1 second. Y'all, this person is very lovely. I've had the recent pleasure in the last 20 minutes to get to know Vito, and you're in for a treat. He's also got a special kind of like preview for just us. We're going to be the first people other than investors to see some cool new things. So Vito Peleg is an amazing human, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Atarim. Atarim is a platform used by 70,000 plus teams to coordinate client collaboration, and that sounds so nice. Client collaboration. We all know what that means. That's the back and forth. All right. And also creative feedback, right? And Vito, who's here with us now. Hey, Vito, glad you're here.
Hi, how you doing?
Love those guitars. Amazing. Vito does focus on AI native agencies that are scaling output, right? So not just output, but also increasing profitability. Like this is the promise, right, Vito, of AI. The promise is that we are going to be able to scale more efficiently and in a very exciting way without necessarily growing our headcount. So that brings us to your talk, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, me too. I've been speaking at Cloudways events for quite a few years, maybe 6 years already, and so it's great to be back. And I'm really excited to share what we're going to be talking about here today, because usually I just shower with value and value as much as I can. I call it gold nuggets per minute. So there's going to be a lot of that as well. But we're also hopefully, if the demo gods are going to be on my side, we're going to load up something here and
We had a
sneak
little bit
preview
of
into
a
something
cut.
special.
Oh, there we go.
I think it was it me? Was it?
I'm not too sure, but I'm glad to have you back because it's, we were looking forward to those gold nuggets.
Yes, exactly. So this is what we're going to be what we're going to be talking about, AI agencies and how that looks like for website professionals, and how the whole thing converges, the history of it. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Fantastic. Yes. So here we go. We are talking about the title of this talk, y'all, alone. And I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of people are excited for this one. I'm with you, you guys. Very excited for this one. Hiring as you grow is so 2024. Oof, right? Love that. The AI agency, it has arrived. And you're right. And here we go. Let's hear it.
Perfect. So the first thing that I need though, right now that I'm on stage, I don't have the button to share my screen. So I'm not sure what would be the next step to kind of bring this up.
Oh, that's a good question. So basically the option for you to share has...
There is no options for like mic or any of these kind of stuff on my side anymore. I'm kind of like watching maybe.
Interesting. I'm silly. I don't know. Team?
Let's see if
What
the
do you
team
guys think?
can jump in and help us out here for a second.
Yeah, this is exciting. Oh, this is like keeping us on our toes here.
And while we're sorting this out, I'm gonna introduce the topic, and we'll see what if the team can come in and help us sort out the screen share, because it's essential for showing everything in the next
Yes.
45 minutes. But we're gonna be talking about the agentic web agency. How does that look like in 2026? And the concept of scaling our output rather than our payroll. We can already see it all around us. This is the reality that that is starting to emerge. In fact, there was a recent survey, Jen, that was talking about 75% of web agencies have already lost some work to AI. So we're gonna see how can we bulletproof ourselves and future-proof ourselves as well, to make sure that we can survive the next wave that is coming. But Danish, maybe you can help us out here, man.
Yeah, I am just here to accommodate you. We are just putting you on the backstage just for 1 second and then put you again on the stage. So maybe this will resolve the problem.
Okay, thank you.
I love it. And you guys, as we're working this out, think about this. So what he just said, what Vito just said is how we survive. But I've already been talking to him, and it's not just survival, right? We are definitely going to be better. We already are, right? We are the leaders in AI. We're the leaders because we've been in it longer than anybody else. And we have the minds and the brains as entrepreneurs and agency founders to do this work. So we are uniquely suited to absolutely revolutionize the way we do our work. And it's, it's thrilling, right? Like Brent Weaver was saying yesterday, like this is our playing field.
There
Hey,
we
there
go.
we go. And it's
Right.
beautiful. I love it.
Okay, perfect.
Fantastic.
Cool. So let's dive into this. The agentic web agency. So quick introduction here. Oh, sorry, Jen. Can I?
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
please,
All
go.
right.
Yes.
I've been building websites for more than 30 years, or as back from GeoCities back in the day in the mid 90s. But professionally, I got into this about 20 years ago. I started as a freelancer, then built an agency here in London in the UK. I built hundreds and hundreds of websites. Then I got fortunate to be one of the first 1,000 people that got access to GPT-2 back in the day. And me and my friend Andrew went on to build the first AI implementation in Bertha back in 2020. Second implementation of AI in Chrome. And that all connected with what we're doing with Atarim. That is a platform that up until what I will show you now still is AI powered, but it's more about the feedback, the collaboration, the QA, the kind of moving work between different people. And there is a shift going on here with V5 that I'll be really excited to share here. More than 50,000 agencies, more than 70,000 teams. So definitely our main focus has been agencies. And I see a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity for all of us in the next era that is already here. And so let's dive into this. So the first thing that I think we should all be aware of is that if we're thinking about DIY as a threat to our day-to-day activity, it's just noise. Because in fact, 95% of the market is us, professionals that are building websites, that are development shops, and the actual creation, the do it for me, if you will, that sits around or beyond the DIY. That is the actual reality that is cited even by web pros, which are the guys behind the cPanel and so on. So, but what we're also seeing is that DIY is expanding into this territory very rapidly. And we'll see an example of this in a second. But at the core, this is something that has already been going on for a couple of decades, because back in the day, it used to be extremely manual to do the type of work that even pre-AI with drag and drop builders made it a lot easier. In fact, the drag and drop interface, the WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get type of experience, is what brought in this wave of DIY into the space. But it also created work for all of us. And that's when I actually got into the ecosystem in the early days of WordPress, building websites for clients primarily on WordPress. And basically I leveraged the DIY tooling that was available at the time and all the way to today in order for us to do work at a higher level of quality compared to what people can get on their own. So basically specializing in those DIY tools is the industry beyond development or hardcore development, which again was extremely disrupted over the past couple of years. So the thing is that there is an opportunity, but because automation is coming into the space through AI at a much greater level, running services becomes easier and easier. And I like to give kind of an analogy here before we get into Jeff here at the beginning. Back in the day, hosting companies used to build the website. Really, in the early days, even before the webmaster, the hosting companies used to do that. And then what happened over time is that they saw that there is this potential of selling just the software or just the infrastructure, because software has three pillars of what makes it appealing. It has really high margins. It has unlimited scale, and it has and it's very low to no touch. And so it makes it very appealing to kind of scale operations in the product space. Services, in comparison to this, is traditionally very low margin. The average margins for a website agency is between 9 to 22. So it's pretty slim compared to the 60-80% margins that you get on software. It's also very hard to scale. You have to put bodies in seats every time that you acquire new customers, as opposed to scaling with the tool itself. And it's very much hands-on. So it's the opposite of low touch to no touch. It's us taking our customers through very systemized process, or hopefully systemized process, but it's hand-tailored. It's a lot of touch that happens around there. But with AI, all of those three pillars are actually evaporating in front of our eyes, or being brought into the world of software as well. And so this is a good example of this that demonstrates something that we should all keep in mind on where our place sits in this stack. We're using a tool called vidIQ, which is just a basic analytics tool for YouTube. And so for our YouTube channel, we use this tool, and we paid $15 a month to get some analytics on our channel and keywords and all this kind of good stuff, right? Then they came up with this program that is the coaching program, and we want to grow the channel. We want to invest more into this. We know that this is a thing that we lean into already, and so they got us, and they allowed us to, or they enabled us with this awesome guy called Jeff, who is our YouTube coach that talks to the team. He sends videos back and forth. It's, again, very systemized. His time is highly protected, so that they can offer this to a lot of people all at the same time. But the point is that they expanded their average revenue per user on us from $15 to $125 by introducing professional services, coaching, guidance into the software offering, highly systemized, assisted by AI. But this is really the new reality that we're going to be seeing coming from the software. And we're already seeing this not only here, but in accounting platforms and in law platforms. Even our HR system is now suggesting advisory and to do work for us on this, because they know that they can deliver this a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently with AI. And so that's another thing that is coming into our space, but it also presents the awesome opportunity that we all have in front of us, because we already know how to do the work. And so let's explore what is the real bottleneck in our day-to-day work. Traditionally, we always think about like, I can build this website very quickly, and so that's it, right? And that's where a lot of freelancers fall into the trap of profitability, because they can see that they can build a website on their own in 3 days, 5 days, and then they say, all right, that's how long it takes. But in fact, there is an inherent increase of between 500 to 700% on the actual creation time that is the delivery. This is the back and forth, the delays that are coming from clients, the scope creep that comes in, like expanding the brief beyond what was initially expected, coordination gaps. Oh, I didn't know that we can do that, or I didn't know that we couldn't do that. All of those kind of things that happen throughout the builds. And that creates a massive tension on the delivery of the project, and of course, the profit margins for the work that we do. And so if we're looking at a few of these examples, and maybe some folks can join me here in the chat as we're going into this. If I was to build a small business website on my own, if it's like a 10-pager, if I'm really doing everything that I can to make this a good website, I can still do it in about 3 days. Maybe some of the other folks here will tell me, how long would that take you? 5 to 10-page website. You have everything you need. It's just you and the browser and your favorite tools just to execute. How long would that take you? Let's see some folks in the chat here. See if we're alive. 3 days from Tristan. Okay, that's cool. We're in line here. We got Reese with the 10 to 15 hours. That's nice. That's awesome. Yeah, let's see if we have any other folks here that want to join. Okay, we're going to give it at that. Leave it at that. We have, all right, now it's all coming in. One build WordPress theme in an hour, 1 day, everything ready, 2 days max. Yeah, okay, cool. So how long does it take you to do the same exact project that you had in mind for all of the folks here with a client, the same exact project? Yeah, Shamia is not building websites. Yeah, we got 2 weeks from what was that? From here, from 1 day, 1 hour to 2 weeks. Yeah, so I just want to drive this home so that we all kind of realize where the value is. Where is our value? Our value is no longer as much as it was in here, and I would argue that it wasn't even the same. It was even the same before AI, because if you really wanted to, you could build a website. You could spend 100 hours and figure it out and get it done. If you really, really wanted to, we all did, and I'm not special. And so this is really where the bottleneck is. We have Risi with months spending on the client, right? Risi went from 10 to 15 hours to months. One client took 1 year, but usually 3 weeks. Yeah, so we know the pain, right? And so, but this framing is something that we don't even think about. We're like, all right, the work, it's now quicker to build with AI, so the clients are going to ask for less. But this is the work. Managing them, the strategy, the hand-holding, the fact that you are sitting on the tool itself. So now let's look at this from this perspective and zooming out from the single project into how the agency operates as a whole. The way I see this, there's two types of agencies in this world. There's the normal agency, and then there's the good agencies. The normal agencies are the ones that are thinking in tasks. If the client reaches out, then they're going to try and help the client as much as they can. If it's not a holiday, if it is not, if they don't have other work that sits on the table at the same time, like they will do their best, but they're reactive in nature. And if the customer is lucky, they get the response. If it's not the weekend, if it's not this, 72-hour SLAs, all of these kind of stuff. Now, there's also a huge discrepancy in how value is perceived between the two sides here, because we, as agencies selling care plans to clients, a lot of times consider this as insurance. I'm selling insurance to the client, so if something goes wrong, I'm here. But the client sees it as a tax. And that is a proven kind of research that was done, proving the two sides of this spectrum and how there's a huge disconnect. Because if we all know that most clients don't reach out on every single month. A lot of the care plans that we're running are reaching out to us maybe even just twice, 3 times a year. And yet they pay us on a monthly basis for the same service. Now, the good agencies, the ones that are actually growing, and we can see that over the past 7 years with Atarim, who are the ones that have been there in the beginning and that are now doing either hundreds of projects or much better projects, depending on what they perceive. They are these ones. They are the ones that think in workflows, in SOPs. They're being proactive with their clients. These are the folks that send a report every month, even if the client doesn't look at it, just so that they know that they're there. If they allocate hours to the client, they would actually have someone go and look into the work during those hours and see what are the opportunities. And this actually creates additional revenue opportunities and upsells just by sitting down and doing these types of exercise. At the core, they are proactive rather than reactive. They're not yes men, they are advisors. And so this is the shift that helps all agencies grow. Now, what I would like to show you today, and because this is also, if I'm going to go back to here, this part is also extremely manual and annoying to do. It's hard to retain relationships over time. Most of us are creative people. We just want to create. And then all of a sudden, you're with the follow-ups and with the reports and with the scheduled calls to figure out backlog and all of these kind of stuff. So it's not fun, but it's required. Even back in the day at my agency, in the beginning, I did none of that, and it looked exactly like that. But then once I realized that I have salaries to actually pay on a regular basis, and I can't, we have to create that regular type of cadence. Every Friday, we were sitting down, all of the folks that were working on projects directly with clients, all the project managers, and myself to the big clients, and writing Friday emails. And that took about 4 hours to do every single week. But the framing was simple. Here is what we did. Here is what we're doing next, and here is where we need you. right? That's it. And so it kept the conversations going constantly, and it made us look like rock stars because we're not waiting for the client to reach out to us and ask us, what about this and what about that, and all of those kind of things that I'm sure happens and definitely happened for me for years before I realized this. And I see this with most of our agency users. And so what is the remedy to it? The remedy is unlimited scale. And this is really the benefit that I was talking about that software has over us. They have unlimited scale. They have the ability to serve unlimited number of clients under the same umbrella of users, of team members, sorry, and of course, there's limits to it. There is no such thing as true unlimited scale. Companies are in the software world. They're looking at this from a perspective of revenue or revenue per person. That's also a good metric to look at even in the agency space. It kind of clarifies how much we're able to afford and all of those kind of stuff. But the reality is that every time that you have new clients, you have to hire more people or you can't take on the work. And back in the day, as the way that I scaled, which is extremely not healthy and not recommended, but that was my way of doing this, is I basically took on enough work to fill out my day at 150% capacity, and then hire someone, offload 60% of my day, and go back to building it up from 90 to 150, and then offload to another asset. And that's how I did it. Instead of loading the team, I took on the pain myself. Not healthy. I did it for a couple of years, but that was the pain. That really is the pain that existed because you couldn't afford unless you got the extra work because of the low margins. So let's see how it works. I don't know if this is something that you guys are up for, but I want to see in the chat if this is something that is appealing, if there's open minds to seeing how an AI agency might look like. And this is what I'm going to show you here is a version 5 of Atarim that is not yet available in the market. So I'm not selling anything. I just want to share this with everyone in the room for the very first time that I'm actually showing this to a large group of people, except for the team members, some investors, and some key customers and personal meetings over this. So yeah, let's see. All right. I'm gonna stop my share here. And share my screen. Okay, so there's basically 3 pillars to what this version 5 or Atarim V5 is all about. One is we don't want you to lose your clients to Claude. And that is a big part of how we're structuring this to make sure that you can retain your clients, that agencies can retain their clients in this kind of turbulent time, because clients already know that they can self-serve, that they can go in and instead of a 72-hour SLA, get a response on the spot. But through here, they can do this under your brand and under your guardrails. And in fact, this is the only system, if you're thinking about DIY tools, this is the only system that puts the agency or the professional at the as the escalation layer. So the way we're thinking about this is a lot more like support. So if you're thinking of support, or like a software support or a customer support a few years ago, it was all done by people. And then the chatbots, if you will, came into the space, and you had about 20% of the work being done by AI and 80% of the work being done by people. And now it's flipped, and 80% of the work is being done by AI, and 20% is still reserved for the harder cases, the strategic ideas, where the people really matter, instead of telling the same answer 300 times a day through the support channel. And so that's the mindset that we're taking, that there's always because I know and we know how AI actually works, there is no such reality where someone with a good point of view on a specific topic is irrelevant. And so as long as we keep our point of view on the work that we do, and we have systems that help us eliminate the rest of the work and scale beyond that, keeping that bit, that's really is the mindset here. So what we're looking at here is my fleet of websites. I have a couple hundreds of websites that are connected to this account, with some clients, with their projects in there, some folders and so on, that I'm kind of organizing my work. And I have my project manager in here that is not aware only of about 15 projects like most project managers can keep in their mind, but it's aware of all of them, all at the same time. So I can even come in and I can do a bunch of stuff here, but let's do something like what should I work on today? And it will go in, find the high priority requests, the things that already came in from clients, things that clients could serve on their own, or the things that I'm not allowing them to do. Like I'm not going to allow them to install plugins on their WordPress website because that's a risky business. So I just want it to be escalated to me, and then I can review it and then say if it's okay to do this with a click of a button. Or for example, I'm not going to allow them to completely reshape the theme and or the way that the website designed, because there's always guardrails and the right information that sits above it. But beyond this, let's see some of the other work that it can do while it's kind of thinking about this. We can talk to the website fully. This is the deepest library of skills that is created for WordPress, so that it works almost perfectly, about 95%, with Elementor, Divi, Beaver Builder, Visual Composer, Bricks, Gutenberg, and everything in between, all of the existing plugins. And in fact, let me go and show this. Oh, because I'm in the staging environment, you guys will forgive me for a second. But I'll show the stack here, where there's a bunch of solutions that we're already training the AI, not what they do, but how to use them right. And you'll see that again as a theme here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the barrier to entry in the same way that creation tools have reduced the barrier to entry to our market. We're trying to reduce the barrier to entry for the operations, how to run an operational savvy business that is delighting clients, creating profitability, and brings in more work on the regular basis. And so, yeah, but if you don't like this, you can even type in and find the right one within WordPress. And so you can set your own stack, which means that the AI is trained on these tools, and these are the tools that it will use. Like every good agency, there is always that kind of dedicated stack. Beyond this, I can create tasks, execute tasks. We'll see some traces here, so we can see some of the work being done. Yeah, so design a new homepage for this. This is an example. So the first thing that he did, it kind of ran through the brand kit and created tasks. So there's always traces of the work being done. I want to show something, this one. Yeah, find some images that I can use on this website. So the way that I did this is I basically took this, dragged it in, and now I'm talking to this website, and I can drag a few of them in and run updates across the board and a bunch of different cool stuff. Here it went to Upsplash, found a bunch of images for me, and then it came back and I said, all right, this is pretty cool, but I want to fit it to our colors. So it already knows the brand colors for this client. So it created a task, dedicated this or assigned it to the relevant agent that is good at design and can generate an image that is now in line with the colors of the client. And then, all right, this is cool, but their logo is kind of sucks. So let's create some new logos for them. And these are the logos that it created. Again, delegated the task. So why is this important? Because then at the end of the month, when it creates the report of what it did for the client over the last 30 days, it includes all of the work. It has all the traces for the work that actually happened. And it also gives you visibility on all of this stuff directly through those considerations and components that are in here that are either suggestions from the AI or requests from people to the AI to do all kinds of pieces of work. And this is the one where it created the logo that we just saw over there, for example. Now, all that goes into the memory, so it can then continue and deploy different elements and different designs. And here I ask it to take one of the logos and just put it on the image, so I have a nice featured image of something that I can use, right? Now, then it, of course, can deploy this directly into the website and do all of these kind of stuff. This is the reactive side. So if I'm going to go into the website itself, let's go into this one, go to the project. This is where the client is invited to. So what you saw over there is strictly for the agency to be able to control everything from one go. It knows your agency because it knows not only your style, so it can produce reports and messaging in your style, or to work on your website. It knows your competitors. This is for me, so I can validate that it knows it for for Atarim, but it knows my business, even to the depth of like what is my main goal, what am I trying to achieve, and all of this was done with a click of a button. In fact, we'll see that here in a second, also on the client side. And of course, I can bring in more resources and assets so that it adds to the context, as well as remembering stuff directly from the conversations and the tasks that are being requested. Now, that's in terms of managing at mass scale. This is already, as you can see, fulfills that kind of vision of delegating to a bunch of different agents all at the same time. I can do the same work for 20 clients in exactly the same time that it takes to create those images, because I just deploy this from here to all of the different pieces of clients. But from a client perspective, they sit in here, where this is their project view or their client dashboard, if you will, where you can see that they have the ability to call in and talk to the AI, talk to the website, and make requests under your guardrails. So you can actually define exactly what they're allowed or not allowed to do through the agency settings. And you can even define your hourly rate so that we can, based on what you're allowing or not allowing, bring in upsell opportunities quoted for you directly into your own inbox, so that you wake up in the morning and there's a new quoted and briefed out piece of work just because a client decided to do something they're not allowed. Like, let's say, deploy a full-on booking system into the website that might disturb some other things in there. But the idea is that through here you can define what is your shtick. And so the definition is basically on those three levels: what the AI can't do, shouldn't do, or within your expertise. So here, for example, if let's say I'm really good at SEO, in this case, I don't want AI slop being written on my clients' websites. All of this content that is done by AI, no go for me. Please, everything around that, pass it over to me so I can review or quote the work. But I'm not a good designer, so do whatever you can on that front. Or I'm not good at accessibility, or I'm not a developer, or all of those kind of other areas. On the other side, I might be a great designer. In this case, I don't want design slop on my client website. So everything that is design related, pipe them up to me, escalate them to me. But I'm not really good at SEO, so a blog post a week sounds amazing. Please create it for all my clients. And that's where this scheduled work, or the proactive agency, really comes into play. Where there are already more than 50, and we're going to launch this with 200 workflows that are not just telling the AI do client feedback, triage, and routing, but they define it like an agency would, with the right branches and everything like this. And let's see an example. You might be able to go to Claude and tell it, update all my plugins. Yeah. Connected to some of the open source kind of MCPs or something like that, and ask it perform an update round, update my plugins. And it might hallucinate its way into updating all the plugins, and at the end you get the fatal error that basically no one knows why it happened. But because that's not the right way of actually doing this type of work. So instead, what I would do, let me go into here. The right way of performing a plugin update every month is first schedule it so it happens regularly. So once a month at 2 a.m. on the first of the month, create a task and start this for these clients, for this client. Then the first thing that I would do is not to update the plugin, is to run a backup, right? That's a lot more sensible to do this there. Wait for 30 minutes because the backup might take some time. We don't know the size of the website. And only then review all of the plugins, check which are the ones that are low risk, which are the ones that are high risk. If there's anything that is high risk, then check the change log for each one of them. And if the change log is allowing, only then you can go ahead and update, knowing that you have a backup. If not, then update what you can, like the clone page or whatever, those tiny plugins in there, and then escalate to a human to do the final bits and pieces. And so at the end, you get a task that is created, that is sitting for you, with a status that was changed to in progress, that you know that you need to tackle this the next morning as you're coming into here. So the proactive work is where the workflows run autonomously in the background, and why not do a 30-day client check-in that actually does it as it should be done, And so the idea here is to bring 200 SOPs and reduce the barrier of entry of the operational side of getting to profitability from currently it's between 4 to 7 years for most professionals in our space. And we want to bring it from 4 to 7 years to 1 hour. That you go in here and you say, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, and that's it. That's how the agency now runs for you in the background. I have the client satisfaction sending out every quarter. I have my weekly upsell opportunity every week. Give me something to sell to these folks. Post-launch checklist on demand, pre-launch QA gate, and so on and so on across the entire board. Now, what if I have something that I don't like? I can just click around, edit this. You have a few dozen of these either AI or actions, as well as integration to a bunch of the tools that we've already been using for quite a few years in the ecosystem. Yes, well, there's a lot more to see here, but I think I'm going to stick to that kind of analogy of the two sides, the reactive versus the proactive, as the thing that we should be keeping in mind from this flow. So now, first of all, I would love to hear some reactions in the chat. Again, I'm very excited to share this with everyone here. So let me know what you think as I'm moving on to the next or the final bits here, because it's really important for us to remember that clients don't hire us because it's hard. They hire us because they just don't want the responsibility. They don't want to learn how to figure it out, and they just want it fixed. And the same way that I have a car, I don't know much about it. It just makes a noise. I send it to the guy, and he sorts it out. And so bringing it back to that visual of the 95% of the market is still ours. And what I think is the fact that the barrier to entry to creation is being reduced once more on the AI side. We can actually build beautiful websites with AI now. That will bring another million agencies into our space, the same way that when WordPress became a thing, it happened, and when Elementor became a thing, it happened. We're just going to see more professionals coming into our space. And so this means that we have a huge opportunity as folks that are already here to dominate the next decade when it comes to our little niche of the market. And this is the kind of takeaway that I would love for all of us to take from here, because the bottom 30%, the folks that are not going to lean in, my prediction is that we're just going to be wiped out by the ability of clients to self-serve or self-serve through someone that will give them that ability. Because there's no justification for I can't do it because it's the weekend anymore in the age of AI. Huge margins for early adopters. Keep in mind that concept of 8x. This is something that is cited again and again in market research, that for every $1 of software, we can charge between $6 to $10 to run that software. And so from the place that we're positioned, or that we are all positioned, running what I showed you here, becoming a true proactive agency is literally in the cost of it is literally in dollars. But the equivalent, and this is kind of the ratio that we're trying to maintain, is a 10x ratio. So whatever you're charging your clients between $100 to $300 at the moment will cost between $10 to $30 to just do it completely with AI, and even more, like running blog posts weekly, quarterly, speed optimization, aligning the standards with agentic workflows and how agentic browsing and how that affects the website, and all of those kind of stuff, different things in there. So if you want to join in, and this is, you can scan this right now. There's nothing to sell right now. This is going to be a really closed beta that we're going to be running this with over the next couple of weeks. And the only people that have been invited so far are the paying Atarim users and you. So I'm very excited to do that. And so if you wanna taste for the first time, please feel free to join in. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the reactions here. One reaction, mind blown. Thank you, Alex. That's awesome. So good. Very cool platform. Way better than a certain alternative I've tried before. Awesome. Very cool.
Yes. Yes. This is absolutely amazing. That comment on mind blown, I'm right there with you. I mean, everything is being readjusted in my mind currently right now. This was amazing. I'm so excited, and I'm signing up right now to get on that beta test. Thank you so much, Vito, for being here. We have a million questions, but not a lot of time. So I wanted to ask you, one of the questions I saw kind of repeated was around what, in your opinion and what you're seeing, your experience, what's one of the strategic mistakes that agencies are making as they're racing towards adopting AI?
Right. I don't think there's any mistakes. Really race, and we've done the same also on the services side of what we're running, like race to it, try everything. And I'll give a quote from the CTO of Shopify. Said it back in 23, and it stuck with me since then. He gave a directive to all of his team back then: lean into AI early and often. And that's the same mentality that we've been nurturing inside Atarim for since I heard this sentence. It's such a pure way of defining it, because we're at the forefront. And Jen, there's my brother-in-law was in the forefront in the crypto side, and he managed to leverage this. This is our world, the AI is where we live. Like a creative work is where we live. So like if we're not gonna lean in, it's just gonna be weird. And so I think it's just a matter of elevating the strengths that we already have, and as you can see, the sky's the limit really with this kind of stuff.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. This is our time. Like we were primed for this.
Yes.
We've got the tools for this, right? We are the ones to navigate this. So
100%.
I love that. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing and for allowing us to be a part of your evolution and how you're a leader in AI with digital agencies and agentic agencies, AI agencies, all the words. Thank you, Vito, for being here. You're such a joy and a pleasure, and you share with such enthusiasm. Thank you.
Awesome. It was a pleasure, and thank you for everyone joining. And thank you, Jen. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Wonderful. And everybody, we have an activity coming up. You all are part of the leaderboard. You're gathering points for participating, and there are some amazing prizes coming up. At the end of the day, they'll be announced by Brent Weaver. So you definitely want to be a part of this. I believe we're rolling straight into it. I don't know. Are you all ready? I'm not too sure. Oh, looks like somebody wants to join. It's Vito. Oh, he's putting in to join early. There we go. Okay, the first activity of the day. Here we go. I believe that we're ready to just roll straight into it. Let's see. I don't know. Are you guys ready? Let's do it. Okay, I'm glad we're ready. So what's going to happen here is we are doing the AI agency showdown, right? So this is, you think, and you do. I mean, really you do, but you think you know where AI is going a little bit, and you think you got a handle on it. We're going to put that to the test right now. We're going to have about 15 questions. They're going to come fast. I'm going to do my best to read them. A little bit of dyslexia here, so maybe the words will come out mixed up, but you'll be able to see them, and they will be in the poll section. So you will be able to vote quickly. As soon as we're done reading it, you'll have a couple seconds to answer it, and then the right answer will be revealed. Ooh, Dinesh has joined the stage.
So Jen,
yes,
we will start the activity right after 1 minute. So
okay.
we need to give the break to the audience as well, so they can prepare themselves for the really exciting quiz. So we are planning for a quiz for the viewers. So we will be back in like 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then we can start the quiz.
Okay, so you guys all take a nice little break. Grab that extra cup of coffee. You're going to need it for this activity. Wonderful.